This video will show you how to replace a rear brake flex hose on a Mazda 3. This will be located behind your rear wheel. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. The first thing we have to do is safely raise and support the rear of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground. Once you've done that, remove all 5 of your 21mm lug nuts and then the wheel. Now that we have the wheel out of the way, we have a clear view of our rear brakes. We're going to focus on the caliper first. Looking along the back side of the caliper is where we're going to find our bleeder screw. If you have any type of cover, go ahead and remove that. We're going to be reusing it. Continuing on, we want to have a collection bucket underneath this area. We're going to open our 10mm headed bleeder screw. Fluid will come out of this area. Here we are, we got a little fluid coming out of there. Now once you've done that, we're going to pause in this area and make our way into the passenger compartment. We need to press the brake pedal all the way down to the floor and hold it there with something such as a pry bar. That's going to prevent fluid from making its way out of the system as we continue on. Now that we've done that, let's lightly close our bleeder screw. We will be reopening this. Now down in this area, we have a 12mm headed banjo bolt holding the flex hose in place. As we start loosening this, you will find that you lose some fluid from this area. We have our collection receptacle under here. A thorough inspection of the banjo bolts confirm that you do not have any pre-existing gasket or any damage. We will be reusing this. Set it aside. You can pull that flex hose off of there. Once you have that disconnected, pay attention to the caliper itself. We need to confirm there's no pre-existing gasket on the port. Go ahead and remove it if there is one, and then give it a quick wipe, confirming it's not damaged in any way. There's our gasket. All right, that looks good. Let's continue following this flex hose up to its next mounting point. As we follow the flex hose up to its mounting point here, we can see our steel brake line. The brake line has a 10mm headed fitting screwing into that brake hose. We'll use a flare-ended 10mm to break this free. After that, you can move to an open-ended wrench if necessary. Now that we have that disconnected, let's thoroughly inspect that fitting. You need to confirm it's not rotted or damaged in any way. It needs to be reusable. Now in this same area, along the top of the bracket, you're going to find a metal locking clip holding this brake flex hose in place. We'll use some pliers to remove the clip, but we're holding onto the flex hose so we can easily remove it. I've got my pliers here. There's our metal clip. Go ahead and clean that up, make sure it's not rotted and weak. Remove your flex hose. There it is, friend. Now up in this area, I'm just going to use a wire brush, clean up that fitting so I can give it a thorough inspection. Quick wipe here. Make sure there's no miscellaneous debris. I'm holding this away. Now we'll clean that bracket. Double check to make sure that's not rotted and weak in any way. We've already inspected the caliper, so we know that we do not have any pre-existing gaskets on the caliper itself. Now it's time for installation of the brand new rear brake flex hose. We're paying attention to the area that the steel brake line would go into. Now if you were to spin this, you can see that I have a whole bunch of sharp corners, but as I continue on, we have a rounded edge. That rounded edge is important to note. We want that up inside the bracket facing out towards us. Now that I have that in place, I'm going to continue on by carefully starting in my brake line. We want to make sure we start it in by hand so it's not cross-threading. Now that I have that line started in, we're not tightening it yet. Let's continue on with our metal locking clip. Now looking where my fingers are, you can see we have this angled ear. We want to have that facing up as we bring this along the bracket. Press it in as far as possible. If you need to, you could lightly tap on it with a hammer. Confirm that your flex hose is properly secure. Let's make sure we tighten up this brake line next. Bottom it out and then take it just a tiny bit further. We want to make sure it's secure enough that we will not have a brake fluid leak here. This is extremely important. Down along the bottom, we have our fully cleaned banjo bolt. Looking at the banjo bolt, you can tell that I've removed any gasket and I've applied a brand new gasket. Now I'm going to take that banjo bolt and slide it through the rear brake flex hose. With that in place, I'm taking my next brand new gasket and I'm sliding it along the other side of that flex hose. Now there's one on both sides. We're going to take this flex hose, bring it up to the caliper, and of course we're starting it in by hand. Everything needs to be properly aligned and snugged. Looking at the flex hose itself, you can see that we have this angled hooked area that needs to slide into the corresponding port on the caliper itself. Now when you go to tighten this, we need to pay attention to the two gaskets. We're tightening the banjo bolt enough that it gently squeezes each of the two gaskets, fully compressing the flex hose up against that caliper. We don't want to have any leaks once again. It's bottomed out, we'll just take it a tiny bit further. Take hold of the flex hose, give it a wiggle, confirm that it's secured to that caliper properly and it's not twisted in any way. We'll use our 10mm and just lightly close this bleeder screw. We don't need too much pressure, we will be reopening it. Now let's pause in that wheel well, we're back inside the passenger compartment. Let's remove pressure from that brake pedal. Now let's make our way under the hood to the master cylinder reservoir. Along the top is where we're going to find our cap. Let's make sure we wipe along the top to remove any miscellaneous debris. We don't want anything making its way in the braking system. We'll take hold of that cap, turn it counterclockwise, lift it up. Now we're just looking at the seal, confirming nothing's swollen or damaged, and we'll rest this along the top. We are not tightening it up. The next thing we want to do is gravity bleed the system. So for this, I still have my collection bucket under here. I'm going to use my 10mm and we're going to open up that bleeder screw. At this point, we need to wait until we see a steady trickle of brake fluid making its way down through the brake system, all the way down to this bleeder screw. There's going to be air all inside that flex hose and the fluid's going to have to make its way through there, all the way through the caliper, and then eventually it's going to push all the air out and through here. Now that I have a steady trickle of fluid making its way out of here, I'm going to gently close this off. The next thing we need to do is make our way into the passenger compartment. You want to pump up the brake pedal a couple of times, make your way back out here, and open the bleeder screw one more time, confirming there's no air. Now at this point, we're going to go back inside the passenger compartment and you want to pump up the brake pedal. Confirm it feels firm. If it doesn't, you may need to continue on with a manual brake bleed, which is what I'll show you next. Now one last quick inspection in this area and we can reinstall our wheel. On here. We'll start on all 5 of our 21mm lug nuts, bottom them out, get the wheel safely on the ground, and we can torque each of these to 100 foot-pounds. Now that we have the wheel safely on the ground, we're going to torque each one of our lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds in a crisscross manner. Torqued. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. We have our clean .3 fluid and some parts cleaner. We're starting under the hood at the master cylinder. We can see it right here. We'll clean along the top of the master cylinder to confirm there's no miscellaneous debris that might fall inside of the braking system. We don't want anything inside of the braking system aside from brake fluid. Take hold of that cap. We're going to lift it up and away. A quick inspection of the seal. Set that aside. Now, if you were to look inside the master cylinder reservoir, you're typically going to find that you have a protective screen. To remove the fluid inside the master cylinder from up along the top, we're going to have to remove that screen. Carefully use a pick if necessary. Just a quick inspection of that, we'll set it aside. Continuing on, we need to have a fluid extractor of some sort so we can make our way down inside the reservoir and remove as much of the pre-existing fluid as possible. Once you've removed as much fluid as possible from inside of the reservoir, we'll continue on with reinstalling our screen. Slide it down into position. Continue on by topping off the master cylinder with your brand new clean .3 brake fluid. And once we have that topped off, we're just resting this cap on top. We are not turning it. It's not going to be screwed on. We just want to make sure nothing falls inside of the system. To do this, we're going to have to remove all of our wheels because we're going to bleed all brakes. We're starting at the passenger side rear. If you have a bleeder screw cover, go ahead and remove that now. Now for the rear caliper, I'm going to be using a 10mm for my bleeder screw. We have to have a collection receptacle under this area. We're going to start bleeding the brakes starting at the passenger side rear, and then we're going to the driver's side rear caliper. The process will be the same. After that, you're going to make your way into the engine compartment, and we're going to top off the master cylinder before making our way to the passenger side front, and then ending at the driver's side front. For this, I have a second person inside of the passenger compartment. They're going to pump up the brake pedal for me. They're going to hold it. While they're holding the pedal, I'm going to use my 10mm to open up my bleeder screw. We'll be watching for fluid making its way out, confirming that we have only clean fluid making its way and no air or dirty fluid. Go ahead and pump up that brake pedal for me, please. We'll try to control this fluid as much as possible. Go ahead and pump. That looks good. We'll close off that bleeder screw, clean our mess, reinstall any protective boot that you had, and then we're making our way to the driver's side rear. I'm just going to go ahead and repeat this exact same process, and I'll meet you under the hood. Under the hood, we're back at the master cylinder. We can remove that cap. We're going to top off the master cylinder with our clean .3 brake fluid. There we are. Rest this on top. Now we finished at the master cylinder. For now, we're at the passenger side front. We're using an 8mm for this bleeder screw. Go ahead and pump up the brake pedal, please. Saw a little air there. Go ahead and pump. This is looking good. Go ahead and pump. There we are. You can release, thank you. Now, as you can tell, I had only clean fluid making its way out, definitely no air. Clean this up and make your way over to the driver's side front, repeat the process, and then you're up at that master cylinder. Now we finished at the driver's side front, we're at the master cylinder. Let's top this off one last time with our clean .3 brake fluid. Going right up to that maximum line. Continue on to reinstalling your master cylinder cap. Okay friend, we finished our brake bleed. At this point, reinstall your wheels and torque each of them to 100 foot-pounds. Pump up the brake pedal one last time and then take your vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.